paper. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is it. Yes. Did we say? Yeah. Did we say free as well? Want to put stuff on the website? Having a hard time with a couple of words? Not saying it's what you use all the time. Real world application. And then you got the ability of translation. These folks are not free. I've known the folks at Wordly for a few years now, but what they are doing is amazing. It's sort of Google Translate for events like this. So I'm going to speak right now, and we will see whether on the right it is going to turn my words into Spanish in real time. Real-time translation. Have it on your phone, plug into your ear, it'll speak the translation. 22 different languages. Now, Google Translate does this too, but this has a scale for large-scale events. That's phenomenal. So that with Google Translate, if somebody's Spanish and somebody speaks French and somebody is Filipino dialect, guess what? They all have the translation in their pocket. You're still translating, aren't you, Google? I'm going to close the demo right now. Who knows what else is going to put up there? I don't trust that Wordly's in cahoots with my assistant either. I just don't know about that. I got so many tools with artificial intelligence. It creates backgrounds of pictures. You know not to believe anything you see, right? We're clear on this in 2022. That any video you see, any picture you see, don't believe it. Just that should be your first and second approach. Because it's so easy to use these tools to increase and decrease and modify and change and make people look who they aren't. And if you think it's just static pictures, video has this capability too, all driven by artificial intelligence. And then there are bots. You know, these automated response tools that are out there. Didn't know, I checked. It's ChurchBot, ones that are designed for faith-based organizations. The technology is not around you and not within you. It's within everything that you're doing. And then we get to something that's just been released called DALL-E. And DALL-E is an artificial intelligence tool that allows you to put a few words in and create images, copyright-free images that you can use. So, technology-friendly pastor. That's not it, by the way. That just was coming up for a second, just so we're clear on that. Okay, if it looks to you, then use it. I don't know. Understand this is changing the game. That you can now put 3 or 4 words in and you can get images you can use. Shutterstock has bought out a huge component of AI where their free/pay tools to get pictures now include artificial intelligence-driven content. I don't know where the way creepy thing was, but it should have been close to there at that point. Amazing how it's focused and where it's going. So we got a little bit more time. I got plenty more tools. I got way more tools. Here's one, and actually 2. And these are Google-based and not Apple-based. And I tend not to talk about one over the other because I like to be platform agnostic. I want to make sure it reaches with everyone. But this is a story that happened about 3 years ago. And I'm just finishing up a talk, and a woman came up to me afterwards. She goes, I have a problem. Hopefully technology can help me with it. I said, what is it? She said, I can't hear the sermon in my church. I'm going deaf. I'm not completely deaf, but I have a hard time hearing it. Is there an app out there that can help me? So I did digging. I first looked on Apple, and they control that too tightly. I think they have some internal components. But I found Live Transcribe. If you have an Android phone, you want to test it out, instead of changing the language like Wordly did, it puts it in a large-scale print right on the screen. So the person with their phone can now follow along what's being said of the sermon. Way cool. And by the way, if they had an issue just with not being able to hear that well, they also have sound amplifier, which allows you to bump that sound up just enough so they can hear it in their headset, in their earphones. Pretty darn cool. We're going to need, we being the collective we, to better understand how we can push information out on a regular basis in this new normal. And curation is the tool. And again, these I will play with and showcase in the lab, but Flipboard, Pocket, Paperly are three great examples of being able to take content that we read, that we see, and be able to push it out to our congregation, push it out to our friends and family, and whomever else we want to focus on. Flipboard, a free app. Pocket, a free app. Paperly, a free tool that pulls content from your social channels right into a daily newspaper. So, one thing, and you might have heard in my bio that I had some health issues. So eating properly, health, very important for me. So I created a newspaper every day called the Whole Food Plant-Based Daily. And I do nothing except I identified a couple of sources that I thought were really, really good and let it do its work. And that every day, this paper comes out for me and for anybody else who wants to. This one's going to cost. This costs about $8 or $9 a month. But you see, these tools are all in the price point where we can use them. You'd be crazy not to. They give you so much more reach without reaching in your wallet so much. Oh yeah, and for the video folks out there, video editing free of charge, and audio editing free of charge, and animation free of charge. It's all there for us to be able to use. The middle one, Audacity, has been around 20 plus years as an open source tool. Any sort of audio editing you want to do. DaVinci Resolve is a professional grade video editor completely free of charge. The tools are just amazing. Handbrake, ever get a video from a format that you don't understand or can't use? Handbrake will change it into whatever format you want, free of charge. Boom, done in 15 seconds. Video 4K downloader, only do this for videos you're allowed to do it with, please. But you saw that video on YouTube you want to share? Well, I'm not going to say anymore because people think the wrong thing. And I know they're talking in here later about lighting and technology. The masterclass conversation and all this is a tool called OBS, where you can use that one computer you have, whether Siri likes it or not, and be able to create real-time, high-end production value out of a single room. Wow, cool stuff. Oh yeah, safer search engines. Brave, the first really good privacy-based browser. I know people talk about Tor, but that's kind of Department of Weight creepy, and I don't want to go there. But Brave doesn't track you, doesn't put cookies on your machine. Make sure that you have an experience where you're not being sold to all the time. And for browsers is Brave. For search engines, instead of Google, it's DuckDuckGo. Yeah, name is funny, but you know what? They don't track where you're going. They don't serve up ads every time. They don't know that you were just in Chattanooga having dinner at a barbecue place last night, blah, 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 that they shouldn't have known. And people go, well, wait a minute, there's a privacy mode on my browser. No, just don't even go there. The only thing that privacy mode in your browser is good for is if you're buying presents for your honey for the holidays and you don't want her or him to know what you got. Otherwise, anybody can get past it. But it's funny, because now we have to really close this whole loop up talking about something we haven't talked about here. Your security. Matter of fact, it's a double-edged sword, because the conversation is also about privacy, but let's face it, gang, you've given that up. I hate to be cynical about some stuff, but here I'm being cynical about this. You don't have any privacy as long as you're using Facebook and Amazon and Google and all those tools. And I don't mind. I lead a boring enough life that it's really not going to bite me in the bottom. However, I don't want my security compromised. And that's what I want to make sure is clear. And the problem is there are so many ways to have it compromised. There are social engineering attacks, of phishing, that link you get saying Netflix needs you to re-up your subscription, please click here. boom, you've given away all your passwords and information. And whaling is when it goes into an organization at the highest level, maybe at the pastor level. You're trying to get information. They're trying to put malicious software on your computers. And the why for this is just weird. In some cases, it's money. In some cases, it's geek joyriding, that they just want to cause problems. And it's really, really just awful. Oh, by the way, if you don't have that happen, you can download a fileless attack, and you can actually have all sorts of stuff. You can have that Nest thing in your home that controls the temperature that people can easily get into. And by the way, I know how to get into your home network. Why? Because there's a website out there that tells me the username and password of every router out there. And they all tend to be the same thing. The username is admin, and the password is the word password. Change it! Otherwise, you're open for business. Side-loading apps. You don't know about them, your kids do, because that's when you don't go to the Apple Store or the Google Store to get your apps. And that's where 97% of the malware tends to be. What about man-in-the-middle attacks? You go to the Starbucks for your latte, and you see a network, and you click on it. And somebody's in the middle of that network taking all your information. Fake wireless protocols. Ever go to a place like Starbucks and see, and I hate to pick on Starbucks because they're not the only player here that's doing this wrong, but it's where I tend to go a lot. Starbucks 1, Starbucks 2 connections. Once I see that, that's a heads up that somebody's trying to put something out there that's not right. Oh yeah, juice jacking. You go to the airport, you go somewhere, and you forget the brick, the plug-in, you just use the USB. I know people, I can't do it myself. If I could, I wouldn't be here right now. I know people who can actually put viruses and malicious software in those USB ports. So when you plug your phone in, bam, downloads right onto your phone. USB, don't give anybody a USB anymore. That's like, give them a floppy disk at this point just to make them laugh, okay? And SIM swapping, what are they talking about here? Oh, man, they're talking about moving your SIM card from one place to another without even physically moving it. This stuff is just insane. And it is. Way creepy. But there are solutions. And I want to leave you with 5. 5 things you need to do. And 5 things your family needs to do. And 5 things every person you know need to do. A couple of them you might already be doing. Number 1, antivirus. Probably the least effective of all of them, but make sure it's on there. If you have a Mac, it's already on there. If you're on a PC, it probably was pre-installed anyway, so leave it, max it out. And they might even have anti-malware support, but this is where you can go outside of what has been given by default. And this is a critical tool, because if you do click on that silly link and they're trying to download something onto your computer that damages you, that's what this does. This takes that file before it gets to your operating system and puts it into quarantine and sends you a note saying, do you want this? And you'll say no, and it'll never hit your computer. I've seen so many people saved because of a good $12 a year anti-malware solution. Virtual private network. So the person in Starbucks can't see everything you're doing. This encrypts your message. I use TunnelBear. I'll never recommend anyone to you, but I'll tell you what I use. Passwords. Okay, passwords. Here we go. Keep it silent. Don't raise your hand. I don't want people to know. But think in your head. Do you use a password manager? I'm going to guess that 90% of you don't. What a mistake. Because most of the stuff that's out there, when a hacker gets into your files, gets into your personal information, because you're using the same password over and over and over again. What would that password be? Well, time for a top 10 list. This is curated every year by some of the privacy and security companies, and this is the 2021 version of the top 10 most used computer passwords. If, while we're showing this, your password appears, you can leave and take care of that and come back when it's fixed, okay? Number 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 10th most used password. Number 9, because that was too difficult. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Number 8 is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, because remembering all 10 numbers is clearly a strain. Number 7, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Number 6 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do you see a theme here? Number 5 is the word password. Run out of here if you use the word password. Number 4 is QWERTY. Oh, the top of the keyboard. Oh, I never would figure that one out. Number 4. Number 3 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 2 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And the number 1 password with over 100 million uses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tell me your passwords aren't up here. Just humor me. Say, Jim, my passwords aren't up. Great, fine, got it. Good. By the way, passwords may be ending. And this is very, very new, that Apple and Google and Microsoft are all in alliance with this passkeys approach to try to get all it done from a biometric standpoint and not from a password standpoint. Pay attention, this is going to be being rolled out this fall, and although it's probably not going to be implementable immediately, it has a lot of implication for our safety and security. And then there's two-factor authentication, the annoying code that you're trying to log in, and it texts you a 6-digit code you have to put in there. Use that all the time, please. Reason, very simple, because if they get your password, but they haven't stolen your phone, you're still safe. Options abound. Oh yeah, for all you folks that do have PCs, when Microsoft tells you to download an update, download an update. I know it's a pain in the butt. I know you're doing something that's important. But the reason they do that typically is that somebody exploited part of the operating system and they need to fix it on your computer. That's the major reason why those updates occur. So make sure, even if you don't do it immediately, do it that night. Make sure those updates are downloaded. Okay, so for a lot of people, this was the approach to security. Wide open, back door, nice patio out there. But because I'm a teacher, I got to leave you with a test. And the test is going to be a security scorecard. This is a 100-point test. You're on the honor system. I trust you all implicitly. And 70 is passing because I don't scale and curve on a scale or any of that. Okay, so do you have an antivirus product installed and always running in your computer? If you do, give yourself 10 points. Easy. And if you have a Mac, you got it in there, so give yourself 10 points even though you don't know you should get 10 points. Do you have an anti-malware solution installed and always running? Give yourself another 10 points, except if you're asking the question, what's an anti-malware solution? If you're asking that question, you can't get those points. Personal VPN, I'll give you 15. That's 35 points, halfway to passing for 3 very simple tools. Your auto updates always being on? Sure, another 15 points. This is really getting easy. I hope you're getting around 50 at this point. Next one. Do you only use Apple products? How much is he going to grade this? 0! And I'll explain why. 0, not because they're not safe, but because most of the attacks aren't preventable by what they're doing. They're user error. They're us clicking on something we shouldn't have clicked on. They're phishing and spear phishing and all those types of attacks. So while Apple products are a little bit safer, no question about it, it's a false sense of security. I know an awful lot of people who don't do their due diligence to keep themselves safe. Okay, password manager, I should give you 100 points for that, but I'll give you 10. Downloading apps from the official App Store, 10 points. Only clicking on an email if you're 100% certain it's authentic. It's not somebody from the Republic of Congo saying they're a long-lost cousin of yours and they want to give you $100,000, but you have to send them $5,000 first. Do you believe 25 years later that foible is still getting people to fall for it? 10 points for that. If you update your browser, I'll give you 5 points. Two-step authentication, I'll give you 10. And has nobody else ever used your device? 5 points. Show of hands, where are my 70-point folks? Okay, extra credit, fine, here we go. Do you have lots of common sense? Great, I'll give you nothing. Sorry, too easy to make a mistake. If you use Internet Explorer, please take away 10 points because you're really messed up. If kids under 21 use your computer, please take away 25 points. And the same is true if your parents are using your computer, take away 25 points. And by the way, if it's both, just get yourself a new computer. You're already in deep sneakers there at that point, gang. So let's wrap this up right now. So what's coming, what's here, 5G, it may be the end of Wi-Fi. It's really changing the game. It's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of years with that. But really, just a couple principles. Tech doesn't move backwards, always moves forwards. Make sure it's right for your needs. The techie pastor is aware, doesn't implement everything, but is aware of what is out there so they can choose what works best for their message. And listen, what are they using? What are they talking about? And stay safe. And one other thing, just to know that the future might be in holograms, and this is now a company called Proto is there with desktop holographic machines. We're living in really cool times, and we have the ability to choose what we want to use. You are all so awesome. I thank you very much.